What is up, guys? So this is going to be my review for Arrow Season 6, Episode 12, titled All for Nothing. So in a previous episode, in the last episode, we learned that Vigilante is a double agent, and this episode explored that, and it explored it in a way that actually satisfied me for the most part. I was hoping that he wouldn't be a double or a triple agent, meaning that that Cayden James is faking this whole thing, and it turns out that he isn't, and he actually is a double agent, which is what makes by far the most sense, because he is a vigilante. So him being working with the bad guys, criminals, as Cayden James put them, they are the criminal cabal. It doesn't really make any sense. So the fact that he's a double agent definitely redeems him. And the thing is, this episode actually made Vigilante a likable character. I started to like his character in this episode. I never disliked him as a villain or as a foil for Team Arrow and Green Arrow, but in this episode I liked him as a good guy. He could have been a member of the Outsiders, a long-lasting member of the Outsiders, but he was killed off. Vigilante was killed off in this episode, and that was the biggest impact this episode had on the show in general, and I thought that it was a stupid thing to do. To kill Vigilante off, it was ridiculously stupid, especially when we just got to know him better. We learned that he was a double agent last episode, and this episode was the first episode to explore that, and they kill him off. That's ridiculous. I feel like the only reason they killed him off is to set up an Arrow Civil War, which I will talk about in a second, but the fact that they killed him off kind of annoys me. Like, they can do whatever they want. If they can obviously kill him off, and he's not a huge important character in the Green Arrow universe, but we just met him. Basically, we just met Vincent Sobel. There were flashbacks about him, and we got to know his character, his personality, because until now he was just a vigilante. He was just vigilante, but this was basically the first episode we met Vincent Sobel, and they kill him off. It's ridiculous. I don't understand why they would do this. And again, the only reason I think they would is to set up an Arrow Civil War, which is definitely something I want to see, but I don't feel like this is the way to do it. They could have had Vigilante in that Civil War, and it would have made it more interesting, but they killed him off, which really annoys me. Another reason the Vigilante death isn't great at all is because this episode was setting up even more so the Black Siren redemption arc that we've been told was going to happen. It was hinted at multiple times this season. But then she kills Vigilante, she kills Vincent Sobel, and it throws that redemption arc in the trash because there is no redemption for her now. She killed a member of Team Arrow, or at least the Outsiders, and there is no redemption for her now. If she can't be redeemed, it's over. Which is why I think that Black Canary probably should kill her at this point, and like she said at the end of the episode, because there is no redemption arc for her. If they do give her a redemption arc, I won't accept it. I will probably not like her character because she killed a member of at least the Outsiders. He was basically a member of the Outsiders, and she killed him, even though she didn't really need to. You could say that she was under pressure from Cayden James, but she could have killed Cayden James. She didn't need to kill Vigilante, so there is no redemption for Laurel at this point. Like I said, the only reason I think they killed off Vigilante is to set up an Arrow Civil War, which is something I would actually like to see, but I don't think that, I think they could have come up with a different way to do it, or at least later in the season, or at least what they could have done is revealed Vigilante to be a double agent earlier in the season, and then kill him off now. That would have been a more acceptable thing, but they killed him off the episode after we learned he was a good guy this whole time, which is ridiculous. But they are setting up an Arrow Civil War, and that's something I definitely want to see. They're setting up because we see at the end that Black Canary wants to kill the criminal cabal, especially Laurel, and I get that. So that will probably lead to Oliver try and stop her, which will lead to an Arrow Civil War, similar to how Captain America Civil War happened, or even more similar to how Batman vs. Superman happened, because Superman was trying to stop Batman from killing people, and that would be similar to how Green Arrow was trying to stop Black Canary from killing the bad guys. Another thing is that Black Canary is clearly angry at Team Arrow for choosing to get the bomb over getting Vincent, and she probably blames them for his death. So this will definitely lead to a civil war, and the leaders of the teams seemingly will be Green Arrow and Black Canary, and I'm kind of excited for this. This is something that I would love to see in the season, but again, I feel like the way they set it up was all wrong, or at least they waited way too long to do it. Another thing is that this episode continues the trend of the split of Team Arrow not really having an effect on Team Arrow, because in this episode, they continue to work together. It seems like this episode is actually the cutoff point where they stop working together completely, because Black Canary won't be able to work with Green Arrow and the whole team. But previous episodes, the whole team worked together, and it felt like the split was meaningless, and just, yeah, it was meaningless because it had no effect on the team other than like some problems here and there. They were working together in every episode since then, so it doesn't make any sense. Like, why even split them up if you're just gonna have them together every single episode? But it seems like this episode is definitely the cutoff point where they stop working together, and if they do work together from now on until like after the Civil War, which is something they're definitely doing, and I'll be really surprised if they're not. But if they do work together before the end of the Civil War, I will be very surprised. This episode had flashbacks, which I didn't even realize that I missed. I missed flashbacks on this show. We haven't had flashbacks, or at least we haven't had flashbacks every single episode since season 5, which was a while ago, and I actually missed them. We had flashbacks here and there this season, but not in every episode, and I feel like the show has been struggling to fill up the time that the flashbacks usually fill up. But in this episode, they did have flashbacks, and they were pretty good. Although, they probably didn't need to be there. Like, if they were cut out and put something else, they put something else, then they probably would have had the same effect. But it did make me care about Vigilante more than I did, which actually makes the sting of his death more impactful on me. So if that's what they were going for, then they did it. But still, I think the death was unnecessary and kind of stupid. But the flashbacks were actually pretty good. The fight scenes in this episode, I felt were not bad at all. They were actually pretty good, but like nothing special. There were some pretty great fight scenes and some moments where I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. But it was definitely like standard Arrow fight scenes. That's not a bad thing, because Arrow usually has pretty great fight scenes, save for season 4, because the fight scenes in season 4 were deplorable. But the fight scenes in every other season, even season 3, are pretty good. And in this episode, it's no exception. It's just nothing special in this episode. Again, that's not a complaint. It's an average fight scenes for Arrow, which is actually pretty much most of the time a good thing. This episode confirmed that the picture that we saw in episode 1, at the end of episode 1 of this season, of Oliver in the Green Arrow suit, which was doctored and manufactured, as Oliver said, but it was revealed that it wasn't created by Cayden James, because the video that we saw in this episode of Oliver killing Owen Post was also seemingly faked, which is definitely a lot harder to fake a video than it is to fake a picture, but seemingly it was faked by somebody on the criminal cabal. But I don't know if that was confirmed or anything. That's just what Team Arrow is speculating. What I think would be awesome is if the person who created the photo and the video was actually Adrian Chase, aka Prometheus, because that would be pretty awesome. The reason being is that he said himself he's always 10 steps ahead. So even in the thing of his death, even in the time of his death, which he completely planned out, he would definitely have contingency plans in place in case he died, because he wanted to die. He would definitely have something after that to get at Oliver at if he failed to kill everyone on Lian Yu, because the fact that almost everyone survived Lian Yu completely undermined Prometheus as a villain. He didn't really kill anybody important. He didn't have a huge impact on the show other than killing Samantha off and making William be adopted by Oliver at this point. But that's really it. But if it was actually him who set up the picture and the video in order for Cayden James to get at Oliver, and also for the city to get at Oliver, and to see that he's the Green Arrow, that would definitely make his impact on the show higher and better. Season 6 failed him as a villain with the first episode, but they can redeem. Season 6 can redeem itself by making this whole thing be set up by Prometheus. If the whole entire events, if all the events of the season were set up by Prometheus, that would be awesome, and that's the thing I want to see. But the thing they're probably doing, because they did hint at the fact that somebody on the criminal cabal is, so it's probably going to be Ricardo Diaz. The reason I think that is because Ricardo Diaz might be doing this. He might have set this whole thing up in order to take control of Star City and the whole criminal enterprise of Star City. The way he's doing that is by using Cayden James to take control of Star City, and then later in the season he might kill him and take control. That's very possible. It's possible that he paid somebody to make that photo to for some reason and make that video, mainly that video, the video where Oliver killed Owen Post, to make Cayden James want to take revenge on Oliver and take control of the city, and then Ricardo Diaz kills him and takes control himself. That's definitely a possibility, but it's not exactly like a brilliant plan, a brilliant thing or anything. I would much prefer it if it was actually Prometheus who set the whole thing up. In conclusion, I know I was complaining a lot about this episode because I really didn't like the Vigilante death, and I also didn't like the Laurel redemption arc completely being thrown in the trash, at least in my perspective. But I actually really enjoyed this episode. I thought the fight scenes were good, despite it being nothing special or anything. Like I said, they were average Arrow fight scenes, which is a good thing. And I like the fact that they set up the Arrow Civil War. I didn't like how they set it up, but I like the fact that they did. And also, the whole mystery of who created the video and picture is actually pretty cool. But just in general, I liked this episode. I didn't dislike it or anything. I just disliked certain things about it, certain things they did. Although I think that they executed everything that they were going for, except for the Laurel redemption arc part, pretty well. So I'll give this episode an 8.5 out of 10. But let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.